Oh! No, 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 no! No, 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 no. Nina? Well, I suppose I won't be going that way. So many games are released that as a busy person, it can be hard to figure out which games are worth your time. Let me take on some of the work and tell you why Void Bastards is a good game for busy people. Hold on, let me check something real quick. Okay. Alright. Void Bastards is a sci-fi roguelike FPS that takes place on a variety of derelict spaceships that are littering the boundless graveyard of corporate space. You will take on the role of a multitude of different hardened criminals who have committed any number of heinous crimes. Like take this guy, Chester Stevens. He, and I shudder to even utter these words, they leave such a bad taste in my mouth, caused olfactory distress to an executive. Or this guy over here, Howard Roth, who callously hoverboarded in a Krell reactor facility. Or this guy, Anthony Stewart, who struck a grandmother. Okay, well that one's not great. That one's pretty bad. Regardless, as punishment for your crimes, you have been powdered and then rehydrated. And now, you have the opportunity to work off your prison time by helping to restore functionality to the floating, lifeless prison ship. Hop from derelict to derelict, scrounging for flotsam, fuel, and food, all while avoiding enemies, environmental hazards, and some minimally less than lethal security systems that are out to get you. And if you die, don't worry. There are plenty of packets of prisoner powder just waiting to be rehydrated. Void Bastards combines simple game mechanics with expansive player freedom. The controls are seriously simpler than some free browser games. But every derelict you jump to has different layers of complexity. Each wreck belongs to a different brand of ship manufacturer, whether it be medical frigates, corporate-approved mine distributors, luxury cruise ships, and the list goes on. Each of those brands has different layouts and rooms, meaning they can provide a variety of loot and character bonuses. Plus, each ship has randomly generated traits. Maybe for some reason it's on fire. Maybe enemies on board are all at half health. Maybe security systems are offline, but only if you're lucky. And speaking of enemies, each ship has varying types and numbers of enemies. There's this exploding guy, this upside down floating guy, and even this shield lady makes an appearance. How about that? So even though the controls are extremely simple, the game doesn't lack any depth, which is great for a busy person because you can play a game with nuance and player freedom without having to spend hours trolling through manuals, tutorials, and any number of online guides. The simplicity of the game also means that you can easily get in and get out of a session. In a single sitting, you'll see yourself picking a destination, picking a loadout, running through the derelict dungeon, getting out with loot, and getting the opportunity to craft new items. Or you could die, that's another option. There will be no gameplay sessions where you'll sit there doing tedious inventory management or grinding side quests. You'll spend less time trying to remember, how do I do that? And more time asking, how am I going to approach this? And speaking of asking, how am I going to approach this? Don't let Void Bastards' comic book art style make you think that it's a brainless shooter. Far from it. Many enemies are stronger than you are, you may be lacking ammunition, or the ship might not have enough oxygen left in it for you to expend fighting every enemy on board. Instead, you'll have to carefully plan your routes. You could sneak through the whole thing throwing robo-kitty bombs to distract your opponent. You could use the stun gun to stun and then evade enemies. Or you could rift strong enemies from one room to another, moving them out of the way or convincing them to fight for you. Each derelict is like a puzzle made up of obstacles and traps and hazards, and successfully surviving and looting each one requires tact and strategy, making Void Bastards more than just a pretty looking shooter. Of course, if you're not looking for a puzzling roguelike space shooter, feel free to hop on over to my channel to see other recommendations. Void Bastards has a limited minimum time commitment. The main gameplay loop has you spending anywhere from 3 to 15 minutes running around a ship, gathering loot and fighting, or in many cases fleeing from enemies. Once you board a derelict, you can leave it at any time as long as you can make it back to the airlock without dying. This means that if you're just trying to squeeze in a bit of relaxing time on your lunch break, you can dive into a quick, desperate mission to save yourself and your fellow inmates, and be back online working in no time. Overall, Void Bastards stands out due to its unique art style and thematic tone. You're a doomed drone being forced to perform outlandish tasks in order to reduce your decades-long sentence by days. Often you'll perish and the game will simply move on without any remorse for the previous quote-unquote client. I liked being able to hop on for a quick round, loot up a bunch of junk, make a small upgrade to my character, then log off. It's a simple game that requires very little buy-in, but provides a significant amount of fun. If you're a busy person looking for a roguelike sci-fi game, then I recommend Void Bastards. As far as roguelikes, and games in general go, it's astoundingly easy to pick up and play. It provides depth without complexity, which means you don't need to spend too much time trying to figure out how the game works, and can instead spend more time playing the game. All in all, I give Void Bastards 5 cute little kitty robots out of 5 cute little kitty robots. Highly recommended.